Today we're going to start with our first from NGN Training Center, Mr. Ahlia, and then Mr. Muhammad Murad, followed by Mr. Muhammad المفتري. نعم إن شاء الله.
I'm sorry, can we swap Ahlia with me at the
yes,
beginning?
Yes, it's clear. Okay. We can start right now, Mr. Muhammad.
Yeah. Okay.
If you are ready.
Sure. Yeah. Can I share my screen? Is that possible?
Please, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right.
Take your time.
Thanks. Can you guys hold up?
Actually, this presentation is going to be recording. Then we will upload it on the website.
Sure. I'm sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
All right, that's great. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Al-Mufti, and I work. I recently actually joined NGN like a year ago, you can say, and I work as a SOC analyst there. But I lean towards penetration testing, red teaming. So I have a question for you guys. Before we start this, does any one of you guys have any idea what is red teaming? What is PT? Penetration testing? You can write in the chat or you can speak up on the mic. I don't mind.
Well, the students, they can only join by chat.
Then go ahead. I don't mind. If you guys have any idea what is it, what is red teaming, what is pen testing, please let me know. Share your thoughts. If not, I shall proceed. Okay, seems nothing from the students, so I shall proceed. So basically, red teaming and penetration testing is when hackers try to attack or hack your systems, servers, websites, etc., everything online and offline as well. So, but there's a slight difference in red teaming and penetration testing, and I will explain it here in the slides. But just to give you a rough idea, is red teaming can collect data on the clients, whereas penetration testers are not allowed. Penetration testers' job is one thing, is to make sure that the security of the client is enough. But red teaming can deploy backdoors, can deploy malwares, and collect data or whatever about the client, and they do have permission to do that. Nonetheless, to proceed further, there are like key takeaways for this, and hold up, give me a sec. Okay, so there are some key takeaways we're going to talk about. Types of penetration testing, the red team exercise, the breach life cycle, how the system is broken, and the case study of it. Now, when it comes to types of penetration testing, there are like 3 valid types. If any one of you guys know anything about the types of penetration testing, let me know. If not, I will explain that as well. All right, cool. So one of the types is called black box, the other one is gray box, and the third one is white box. So black box is when, of course, ethically we are doing all of this. There's nothing called illegal about this. Right? Everything is ethical, everything is on the papers, everything is what the client knows, and no stealing of information, no harming servers or client infrastructures or whatever. So to get back to the types of it, black box is when an ethical hacker has no knowledge of the system being hacked or attacked. Basically, he doesn't know anything about the system. He just does some recon. Recon meaning is searching about what services run on that machine or website in simple terms. What web pages are there? So he doesn't know anything. He's like going into a room which is black. He just needs to search for stuff. Now to come to the other one, to the other type is gray box. Well, here only limited information is shared with the tester, not everything, just some few information like don't do this, do this. There are some stuff here, stuff there. To come to the third point is called white box. So basically here, white box, it involves sharing full network and system information with the tester. Now, why is that? Why do they share full information with him? The reason is so he can actually test the entire system as a user himself, because the biggest threat to a company is the employees themselves, because sometimes they don't know what they're doing, or sometimes they do this or do that, or some people actually take advantage of them being employees and they break systems in such a case. So we hire white box people to actually test the systems internally for us. Types of penetration testing. Now, when it comes to here, there's vulnerability scans, social engineering, phishing mainly, but there are more than phishing. There's whaling, I will explain as well. And of course, there's penetration testing, which is internal and external. And there's the red team digital attack simulation. About the last part, which is red team digital attack simulation, we have to deploy a simulation when we're attacking a system, so it can be real as an attacker attacking a system, basically. So I may go over internal and external. It's same as black box and white box. External meaning from the perspective of an attacker, there's no player access to the system or networks. Meanwhile, internal, an attacker is on your server and machines trying to exploit or find weaknesses in the system to take advantage of. So as I said, whether to steal information, data, and even to escalate privileges. What do I mean by escalate privileges? I'll explain. Every user on a system has admin rights and privileges, we call it. So once you're a normal user, you don't have access to stuff that an administrator does on a system. Here, hackers, when it's called internally, they try to do something called privilege escalation, trying to escalate privileges from a low UID user to a higher user that has more power on the system. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate, just write them in the comments, I don't mind. Now, when it comes to vulnerability scanning, basically these are automated tools written by people, so it can scan systems like automation, basically, you can say in a sense. So vulnerability scanning employs software that seeks out security flaws based on a database of known flaws. So basically, there's a DB database at the backend that compares the output of the scans, and if it results in a signature or whatever, it will be considered as a vulnerability in the system. And it generates reports. Basically, when it comes to PT or penetration testing, 70% of your job is reporting, and the most important thing for a client is the report. Otherwise, it's not going to be, and that's what I hassle with, because I need to write reports, right? So reporting it in a way that the client needs to understand it, that's the most important thing. And the whole point of this vulnerability scan is to tighten network securities. Now, when it comes to reality, there's a lot of scanners, but I will just tell the top of them, and they're basically 4. One of them is called Nikto. It's a CLI on Linux. I use Linux as a primary OS. So Nikto, it will scan for all, what do you call it, vulnerabilities on the system. The other one is called OpenVAS, which is a GUI. And Nessus is a GUI. Nessus is a really famous one. And last but not least, it's called Qualys. Now, when it comes to social engineering, there are many types. Okay, so what is phishing? Basically, it's a type of an online scam with, you know, when you send an email on behalf of another company and you're trying to imitate them, in a sense that, let's say we have a website called abc.com. We create abcd.com with the same kind of website interface, you can say, UI, same logos, different stuff, and we try to send it to the client on the email to phish him to click this link. That's why it's called phishing. You're phishing, basically. So once he clicks this link, I can get his credentials, or I can get his data, or I can even get access to his system. And that's another topic. It's called RCE, if you guys want to search about it, remote code execution. So the types of phishing, well, I didn't mention all of them. I just mentioned like 3 of them, but there's a lot of types. One of them is called whaling, which targets high-profile executives like CEOs or something, managers. Spear phishing is directed as a specific user. So in a sense that instead of sending a bulk of phishing emails, you just send it specifically to a specific person. You research about that person. Again, most important thing in penetration testing, if inshallah any of you guys want to do it, reconnaissance is the most important, and that's why it's called spear phishing. It's directed as a specific user. Last but not least is called farming. Not farming, but PH farming. It's basically just, as I told you, redirection of traffic. You don't send him to the original link of abc.com. You send him to the link that he's not aware of at the back end when the requests are being done, which is called abcd.com. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to hit me up. I don't mind. So the types of penetration testing, as I mentioned earlier, they're black box, white box, gray box. Not much here. Actually, I'm skimming through the slides because I want to show you guys something practical, not only theory. So what are the red team digital attack simulation? Well, it uses all the previous offerings, as I mentioned, which is vulnerability scanning, phishing, and penetration testing, right? And a simulation, it mimics real activities of a hacker, as I told as well, and would take an environment. So basically, we're doing what a hacker does. Well, they're not called hackers, they're called crackers. It's just the wrong interpretation of the real world we live in. Bad people are called crackers. Nonetheless, red team also, as I mentioned at the early stages of this presentation, it collects data and information a hacker would want and uses to check clients' incident response. Now, again, to come back to the difference between PT and red teaming is penetration testers are not allowed, explicitly not allowed to collect client data, not allowed. You're not allowed to do any phishing attacks unless you have the consent of the client to gain access. You're definitely not allowed to deploy any malware or any other type of rat or backdoor on the systems. And you're not allowed to test incident response for a client. So if we put it in simpler words, red teaming are more vigilant, or they can actually hurt the client in more ways than a penetration tester was supposed to be. But don't get us wrong, red teaming is needed, and some clients do need them because they really want to test their systems as a real hacker would do. So to come to the breach life cycle, basically the leader of the red team, he engaged the teams to break in. So basically assembles a team of people and he tells them, yo, you need to break into the system. So the red team propagates and aggregates. Once detected, red team shows exfiltration data. So basically once they detect something, they have to show the data of it. After that, they have to provide the feedback to the client security team. They're not allowed to keep it for themselves. This is all legal. There's something called illegal about this. And then they have to publish the report for the client to show them, hey, that's what we got. This is what you have to fix. Again, as I said, there's about the breach lifecycle, there's infiltration, propagation, aggregation, and exfiltration. So infiltration is like literally breaking and establishing a foothold or persistence inside the system. Propagation is like moving around in the network and jumping from one jump station to the other, which is jumping from one active directory to the other, as an example. Active directories are objects. So you jumping from one object to the other, this is called propagation as an attacker inside a system. Aggregation means collecting data and critical information, which is having kind of high severity because collecting data of another user is just out of control, you can say. It's really, really critical in a sense that you're not allowed to do that as a normal user. And exfiltration meaning taking information outside of the organization. So this is not appropriate. It's not allowed to be done. Taking information outside of the organization because it does not belong to you. And there is a law that will catch that, and you're not allowed to do that. Again, for the third time, everything is legal. And I will give you guys at the end of the video, at the end of the presentation, some links so you guys can refer to. So to come to the red team benefits, as we were talking about the difference between penetration tester and the red teamer. So what are the benefits actually of a red teamer? Simulated attack scenarios from real world threats, like exactly what a hacker would do. Demonstrate true offensive techniques to organization. Designed to improve a security team. Focuses on what's valuable, data and assets, but still gets the penetration test report. But the difference is here, penetration testers do write reports. Everyone should write reports, but red teamers get more data out of the report. Why? Because they're going further steps, like deploying malwares, collecting data about the client. As I mentioned, those stuff are not allowed to be done with a penetration tester. So why would you hire a red teamer to hide in your application security? You know, like why would you do that? So to identify vulnerabilities in an application and systems, to have a fresh set of eyes to look at your software and systems. Because what do I mean by have a fresh set of eyes? As a developer, or you know, as an IT person or IT sec person as well, security person, every day you're looking at your system. So there might be a flaw or a bug that you might not see that another eye would see it, because they're new to your system and they have to redo the whole scanning of the system. And to understand the impact of a security breach, that's a really, really important point. Discovering weakness in the development and testing processes to test your incident response capabilities, like how would the SOC react, like me? How would we react if an attack hit us? Will we be available and all eyes and ears for them, or we'll just sleep on it? That's a really good point for why would you hire a teamer. And of course, to demonstrate security controls. So you guys can take a screenshot, or you can leave this in, I don't know, the chat. If you guys need it, I will put it in the chat. Give me 1 second. I do really recommend try HackMe or Over the Wire for beginners, as it's much simpler to understand the theory as well behind it. And there's one called Portswigger, but that's only for web app, basically. OWASP Top 10. You need to. OWASP Top 10 is a really good. It's an organization that has defined vulnerabilities for our website. Top 10 vulnerabilities for our website, and this every red teamer or pen tester, they follow these steps at the beginning to verify that it's clear for our client, because that's what an attacker looks for. They're called the low fruits, basically. So I don't know. Do you guys have any question before I get into the practical? Please let me know. All right. So to get into the practical, I'm not gonna, of course, do anything illegal. There is something called exploitable. So it's a virtual machine, and it's actually a vulnerable Linux machine. It's having a web page where you can actually do your stuff. Let me write that in the VVWA. Damn, vulnerable. So let me just log in and I will show you what I'm doing. So basically, these are type of attacks: brute forcing, command execution, cross-site request forgery, file inclusion, SQL injection. There's different types of SQL injections. And upload. If I upload a normal image, I can get something called RCE, remote command execution, meaning I will be on the box same as the user. That's what RCE is. XSS, cross-site request, cross-site scripting reflected, and cross-site scripting stored. Now there's another cross-site scripting which is called DOM, but it's not written in here. DOM basically is injected into the HTML code, basically, but it's not here. So nonetheless, let's do file inclusion for the sake of practice. So what is file inclusion? File inclusion meaning I can actually pull files from the system here that I'm not allowed to. As a normal user, you are not allowed to do that. And that's a bug basically inside the system. They should fix it. So to demonstrate that, let me just explain something in Linux, because that's a Linux machine. All right. So I will pull this file from the website here, as it can be just printed out. These are the users, logins, credentials, but of course hashed. You cannot see it. I will just pull it on the system here, which is not allowed to be. So we can give it a shot. Now, to make it harder for you guys, you can either do security as high, low, medium. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to do it medium, low. So if we go to file inclusion, and so you can either see the code here if you click view source, so if you guys can read PHP, it's a PHP script that says var variable file. It's a get request page. So basically, whatever you give it, so as a developer, you would think as, oh, okay, so we can give it something, right? But there's a big issue here. This is not being sanitized or validated. So basically, the file, once you upload it, the server isn't checking if this file is actually a valid file or has permission to be uploaded or not. So basically, whatever I give it, this is going to show it. I will show you again. I will show you what I mean by validation after this. Just let me do the demonstration here. So if I try to pull the etc password file, should be 5 files. Why am I doing these dots? I will show you as well. So as you can see here, I pulled all of them out. If you report this as a bug to a company, they're gonna give you a lot of money. So this is one of them. So to get back to the, what do you call it? To the validation of the file, how is that supposed to be done? So it's either you can view the source from here, or you can just go in here and view it. Just keep it there. It's better. Okay, so what I mean by validation is it's not even checking. So whatever I give it is just throwing it for me. So here you can see it's just thrown. So what did they do here? This is the hard one. Here's the severity of what do you call it? The high. Oh, hold on. This is the DVA security, which I placed as low at the beginning. So if you can see here, there's nothing. There's no validation. So whatever file I give it, just throw it. See what happened here. So it puts an if statement and say, hey, if the file is not equal to, only include PHP, only throw an error file not found. Let's demonstrate that. So I will simply copy this thing. So again, why did I do this? Because it's a Linux system. I have to go back 5 steps to get to this file. Let's go and put it high. 7 and conclusion. Found. Why is that? Because they put a validation that if someone tries to pull another file other than include PHP, please throw them out of the system. They're not allowed to. So again, just before I leave or before we end this, as an advice, Linux is a really important, not important, it's the best operating system if you guys want to start doing this, because you can actually pull out anything from the using Linux. So basically I can pull this entire page from the command line, because this will make your life easier. So if you learn the tools, it will just help your life. That's in mind. So if I wanna, let's say, pull Google, so instead of viewing it there, I can literally just pull it here. And what's the use of this is just because later on I don't want to deal with GUIs. I want to send requests, get post requests to APIs through the CLI instead of doing it on the GUI, because it's going to be a pain in my, So that's pretty much it for today. It was nice meeting you guys, although no one spoke, but it's cool. Nice meeting you guys. Mr. Hussein, are you there?
Thank you so much, Mohammed Mufti, for this insight and very deep. I think it was very technical, and it gave a big, quite a good background about red teaming.
Apologies for the technical, but I couldn't put it in more better words. Like it's. I couldn't.
No, this is exactly what we're looking for here. There is one thing I want to clarify. The second session will start at 11:45. So let's try to use this time if you have any questions. I think that someone raised their hand here.
Please go ahead, Suresh.
Yeah. Salam, Mr. Mohammed. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, very nice presentation, Mr. Mohammed. Since right now we don't have much idea of the software testing and other tools. I have one question about the SQL injection.
Go ahead, shoot.
So in the SQL injections, actually one of the students, he has done the research on that master project on the SQL injection. So how can we get the data set, or how do we test the real applications? For example, could you help us? Yeah.
Shall I share my screen again?
Yeah.
So when it comes to SQL injection, it's not difficult, I don't want to say, but it's not easy because some of them are dynamic, some of them are static. So what I mean by some of them dynamic, some of them static. So basically, it depends on the configuration of the DB database at the backend. Now in Linux, you can simply do this by SQL map, and you can just give the portal. As you can see here, SQL map is a tool that can enumerate or try command inject character injections into the database, which is this one. Now, to do manual injections, so let's say select star from.
I'm sorry, Mr. We are unable to see your screen.
I'm really sorry. Can you give me a second, please? Can you see it now? Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what I was saying regarding SQL injection, there's a tool called SQL map, which can enumerate stuff for you in an automated way, but it doesn't work for every website. You have to do it manually, some of them, because it depends on the configuration and the sanitization of the user input in the DB. But one of the ways to actually find an SQL injection in a sense is, let me just explain how does the DB pull stuff. So select star from users, for instance, where username equal, let's say, search, right?
Yeah.
So here, it's actually accepting a variable or an input from a user directly. Okay, so let's say this is like that. Okay. So I don't know. Do you know how to comment stuff out in SQL syntax?
Yes, we know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what's gonna happen here is, so if I inserted this instead of a user,
okay,
this is a comment. That means it's just gonna throw for me everything out on the screen, every single user.
Perfect.
Yeah, but no one codes like that these days. We're in 2021, so everyone is linking them to somewhere else that it doesn't retrieve the variable itself. You're not allowed to do that. Otherwise, that's pure code, really poor coding.
Okay.
This is one of them. So another one is select star from students where username equal, let's say, search. I hope I'm spelling your name right, though. I'm really sorry.
It's correct.
All right, and password is admin. So here, there's two devotions, you can say, in a way that two parameters should be supplied, the username and the password. So that means both of them should be right. It's this and that, not this or that, okay? So if I comment this out, this whole thing is gonna be commented out. It's gonna be gone. That means whatever I give it, this is gonna work. I'll be an admin here. That's the whole point of it. So if what I supply in the username is admin, this one here. Oh, sorry. If I supply this as a username and password whatever you want, because it's gonna be ignored as a comment. I'm gonna be admin no matter what on the system. I hope that clarified your question though.
Yeah, it's okay.
You can look into SQL map in Linux. It's really helpful, but it makes a lot of noise. So don't try to attack systems.
Okay. And one more question, Mr. Can you give me some information about the Wireshark? One of the software is called Wireshark.
Okay.
So is it allowed to use it at the network, or is it legal to use it?
Yeah, it is legal as long as you're not inspecting other people's data, of course. Now there's another tool called T-Shark. It's a CLI of Wireshark. That's what I use. It's just inspections of packets behind the screen, basically. but everything these days now, basically a hacker takes advantage of it in a coffee shop because everything is unencrypted, right? It's not HTTPS, it's an HTTP protocol. Basically, if I open Wireshark, I'm going to see everything as plain text, but unless the application is being using HTTPS. So if the application is using HTTPS, I cannot see.
You cannot see exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead. If you have more questions, please. I'm delighted to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, Amir. If any of you guys have any more questions.
ما شاء الله استاذ محمد، شكرا جزيلا على شرحك الوافي.
عفوا استاذ, don't worry about it. So cool.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you though.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the second guest speaker from NGN, I believe Mr. Mohammed Murad.
He's joining in actually. He just turned on his PC and he's setting up the thing. He'll be in like 2 minutes or.
So actually the three guest speaker from NGN, so they can join us at any time.
Thanks. So okay, sir. Thank you for today.
Thank
again.
you. Thank you. Thank
really
you very much.
it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.